Oncology is a key focus for Pfizer, with 40% of R&D devoted to the oncology space. Pfizer is committed to advancing cancer care for your patients. Learn more at cancer.pfizer.com.
Want to elevate your travel experience? Here's how. With a Delta SkyMiles Reserve American Express card, you can relax before your flight in the Delta Sky Club with up to 15 visits per medallion year. And now through July 15th, 2026, you can earn up to 125,000 bonus miles, so you're closer to your next adventure. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve card. Check out the new design at www.delta.com/Spotify. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
It's really cool.
Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbiff Rugby Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby, the top 14 Pro de National, the Champions and Challenge Cups, the French national team, Les Bleus, and of course, most importantly of all, the brilliant town cities, bars, restaurants, fans, stadia, everything that makes the French rugby experience so sublime. And someone who's been back sampling that experience, sampling those wares. Rob, you made it back from Marseille in one piece. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Warm. I feel like I haven't stopped sweating for like the last 4 or 5 days. The air conditioning in our office isn't working really that well / at all. There was like came in and there was basically a Dalek just in the breakout area, like by the coffee machine, trying its best to cool it down. I think it was someone who knew, bearing in mind I work with quite a lot of mechanics and guys that maintain air conditioning units. They were trying to explain it to me. It's like, yeah, basically it's not going to get colder than 28 degrees in here. So lovely.
Wow. Yeah,
so,
that's punchy. That is punchy. So just five days of constant bead.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Fabulous.
And obviously with the whole post trip, not the healthiest diet in terms of alcohol. Some quite a lot of sweating out to be done anyway. But yeah, brought the weather back with me.
Yeah, I feel like if there is anything left to sweat out, then the next couple of days are probably the right ones, if that's the word for it, to get you through it.
Oh yeah. How was the weather over here? How was Twickenham?
It was great. Yeah, Twickenham was good fun. Obviously, well, from my own perspective, a little bit of a shame about the result, but it was good day out. Very well done, I would say. A little bit they had David Diamante, who's like the boxing announcer doing the teams beforehand, and it was all a little bit stars and stripes, very Americanized, but quite good fun with it.
There was no Sam Ryder doing the national anthem.
No, there wasn't that, but it felt like that would have been the natural progression from the announcer. It felt like that would have fitted. The two of them together would have been like full Americana. But it was good. It was not the most perfect of rugby matches, but very, very gripping, very, very tense, and good day out. Would go again. A million different shirts, it's kind of well known, right, that everyone buys their tickets up at the start of the year and then goes regardless. But yeah, a couple of superb retro Wasp shirts actually were probably the ones that really took the biscuit.
Probably because they were the least likely to have been competing in the game.
Well, I'm not sure I follow.
as in of all the clubs that have a chance of being in the Premiership final, Wasps are lowdown.
Well, not
for
currently. Long. The Seven Oaks Wasps, or whatever they're going to be called when that comes back round. But it was a good crack. It was hot.
It looked like quite a good game. I caught a tiny little bit. HBO Max game. Works in Europe. That's a new one. So yeah,
that's good to know.
Europe.
It was a very good game. But like mistake heavy game, which made for something quite gripping. and very, very tight as well, which was in stark contrast to a lot of the other rugby that went on over the weekend, both in various finals and one semi-final, which we'll talk about no doubt in just a moment. But more importantly, I want to hear about Marseille, Rob, a city we kind of had a briefish stopover in a couple of games during the 2023 World Cup. I think we both went in, or everyone in our little group went in, a bit of trepidation, but quite enjoyed what Marseille had to offer. Yeah, talk to me about the kind of the visit side before we pile into the rugby.
Yeah, I feel like last time because our accommodation was out beyond the stadium, wasn't it? I looked to that. When I was looking at the map the other day, I feel like we didn't really see Marseille. Like, obviously, we went down to the port, and every man and his wife and the rest of the world were in the port trying to find like some seafood lunch and stuff like that. And it was teeming with English fans, Scotland fans, South Africa fans. Like, it was just very, very tourist heavy. I felt like we didn't really see it. We obviously saw the place, but didn't quite get to grips with Marseille itself. And I quite wanted to do that this time, and it definitely felt like I did. I realised that we really didn't see Marseille last time. What I would say is, like, you can see why Marseille has the reputation it has. It is not a particularly clean place. And if you don't like graffiti, don't bother going. It is like, you don't see it that much down at the port, but there is roads where you just don't bother. They've just not bothered. There's no point in them trying to clean it up, because it is like buildings are covered with it, and it does have like a quite dirty vibe as a result. But the area that we were near and that we kind of spent quite a lot of time in kind of embraces it. It's like, I'm trying to think what other areas of kind of like bits of Shoreditch, I guess, where you've just got so much street art and so much graffiti, and like, it's not the cleanest, and some of the stuff's a bit manky, but actually it gives it a load of colour, and it's like there's a bit of a buzz with like young people around, kind of like, I don't think they were students, but maybe not that much older. It's kind of that vibe. And yeah, really, really cool place. Like, there is so much to do there. So many places to see. We did at one point stumble across like a very smart area, and it's like, Jesus, this is a different country to where we were before. It was like kind of very almost like Italian kind of narrow streets, and everything was in pastel colours and stuff like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed Marseille. I think in terms of the weekend, there was so many different ways you could do it, and you could do it, like, we didn't spend loads of time down in the port, because kind of wanted to. Yeah, I feel like that there were a lot of rugby fans there. There was a bit of a fan zone there. There were loads of rugby fans like in and around the port, getting sent videos of people doing all sorts like round the city. It isn't like, yeah, but I loved where we went. Edgy, dirty, not clean, bit smelly. It was kind of thing like, on the first day when we arrived, it was like, I can definitely see that if you're not in the mood for Marseille, that's not good. You're just, like, you've got to be in the mood for it. I could foresee, and we kind of got the train to Nice on the Sunday, and actually I would have been fine. But it's kind of like looking ahead, like, if I'm like really hungover and knackered by day 3, I'm going to want to get out of there quickly. But actually I was quite sad to leave, because I thought it was great.
Very nice. Yeah.
Blooming warm though.
Yeah. But look, Marseille is kind of, I've been twice, but once I was far younger. It's sort of a place that just looks warm. I can't imagine it ever being chilly, just the way the city's set up down there on the coast. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Are you what about any like proper kind of, I don't know, stop offs, anything you found that you'd be like, oh, when it's the next semi-finals in a few years, or for the goers to the Toulon when they get beaten by Toulouse again next year at Stade Velodrome, like, where would anywhere you'd be recommending?
I was about to say, presumably there'll be a Provence v Toulon game, but they didn't get promoted, so ignore me on that. I mean, it's like Corner Julien. On the map, it's just CR. It's CR Julien, but it's basically kind of like a square. And kind of like I was saying, it's all different colours, but it's just covered in like street art, like all the way around. Like, it's not... Some, like, in one of the shadier bits, there was a mattress with a bloke sleeping on it, and it was like midday, and there are some ropey characters knocking around, but it is like, it's kind of the place where there's loads of buzz, like loads of kind of beer bars, cool wine bars, like good cafes. That's all kind of around, and it's called Cours Julien. It is Cours Julien. It's kind of like a square, but there's loads of places that kind of open out onto the square. It was definitely like pretty busy and buzzy on Saturday evening and Friday evening. There's a few clubs like on the streets off it, a few good coffee shops around there. Yeah, that's kind of where we were for a lot of it. And then the slightly fancier area is just kind of slightly, if you're looking at a map, slightly above the port, Colbert. We didn't actually, but the one thing we wanted to do was go up the hill to the church, and then you get the big view of Marseille. But we realised the only time we were going to be doing that, or had available to do that, was between the hours of midday and 2:00 on Saturday, which felt like a unwise decision. So we didn't do it. We did say, oh, we could do it like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. tomorrow before we get our train, which needless to say didn't happen at my end.
Didn't materialise. Fair enough.
But yeah, plenty of recommendations for various different areas of Marseille, because we crammed in quite a lot in our few days.
Tell us about the rugby then. So first of all, you survived, I assume, the steps of doom up to the stadium following the debacle at the World Cup.
Oh God, yeah. I was getting flashbacks. I thought you talked about getting up to the seats, because I hadn't quite appreciated how many steps and how steep that stadium is. Yeah, that was the main way in, and it was where our gate was. It was actually much quicker than I think what we experienced in the England-Argentina game was pretty ridiculous, wasn't it? But yeah, that was fine. It was just like, Jesus, this is going to take ages. I think we got to the ground like about an hour before kickoff on the first day, and didn't have that much time to get in and like get beers and stuff like that. Like pretty much went to our seats just to be like, right, well, we're kind of running out of time here. Yeah, like that. The time in the hour and a half before kickoff just disappeared quite quickly on both days.
Yeah.
But yeah, the steps, the infamous steps from many an England fan will remember of waiting outside. Coming back out of it is mental as well, because everyone comes out of that exit as well. It looks a little bit like a human 10p machine, because everyone just goes over the lip at the same time.
Over the top.
Over to the next step. It genuinely I tried to get a video of it. But yeah, 2p or 10p machine, depending on what part of the country you grew up in.
Well, yeah, depending on how flush you were as a 12-year-old kid at the arcade. And tell us a little bit about the pre-match as well. So you did mention, obviously, anyone listening to this probably aware that the first game on the Friday was about as one-sided as it gets, 71-17 to Toulouse. But you did note as well that in terms of fan support, there wasn't. I did see a little bit in the ground itself, but you said
there was one pocket
in the run-up. There was you wouldn't have known that Racing were at a semi-final.
There was a pocket, which was the Ciel Blanc travel, racking up their 265th game, I imagine. Genuinely, and this sounds like hyperbole, but genuinely, I think they would have been low down in terms of top 14 clubs' shirts represented. It wasn't just that there were more Po shirts or UBB shirts. Like, genuinely barely spotted a Racing 92 shirt in the whole day. I think I texted you. I saw more pre-get up until I was inside the stadium. I'd seen more Brisbane Broncos and Parramatta Eels jerseys than I'd seen Racing 92 jerseys. Like, probably Montauban was probably the only other one that I saw fewer shirts of. Like, but I saw more Pro de Deux shirts than Racing shirts. Like for some certain Pro de Deux teams, like Grenoble or Provence. Well, Provence obviously, but yeah, it's and it was different. Like there was even on the Friday there were loads of Stade Francais shirts knocking around. So or like people in those colours. I'd say Friday everywhere was Toulouse. It was Toulouse and the rest. It was Toulouse quite comfortably in terms of fan representation, like 75-80%, which bearing in mind that the remaining 20-25% is made up of 13 plus other clubs, it was their Toulouse fans just completely took over. I guess they kind of knew from quite a long way out that they were going to be in that game, which helps, and they always kind of know that, or they could have been confident about that from a long way out as well, and people buying their tickets would have been able to know, like Toulouse fans can kind of be confident that they will be in the finals at some point, or they will be in the semi-finals kind of at the start of the season. So unsurprising, but yeah, complete. It felt like a Toulouse takeover of Marseille, to be honest.
Yeah,
and inside the stadium, it was just mainly red. There was that tiny pocket of Racing fans, but it was a Toulouse home game to all intents and purposes. And they have like the stadium announcer from the teams, I think, and they had whenever I'm pretty sure. And then when Toulouse scored, they do the Toulouse that you get at Stade Vallon as well. So it was the same the following night for Montpellier.
Very home game feel.
But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the same for Montpellier and Stade Francais and Racing. It's just that, yeah. I saw, do you know what? I'm not surprised on the Racing fans. I saw something on Threads that the average capacity or attendance for Racing 92 games was 20%.
Oh, I'm not. Is that right? I thought I saw.
I questioned it, and someone said no. It is true.
It was around like 11,000, and I think La Défense holds about 35. So
yeah,
it's a fair way down. But
I wondered if it partly included like Crotay, but they didn't actually play there that much this year. So.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
But either way, it was like it's quite significantly below 50, even if it is like 11,000 and. La Défense is like 35,000. That is a long way down. Like, I wouldn't say
it never looks that packed, apart from like the Derby game and maybe Toulouse and stuff. I'm a little bit surprised by that. Yeah, was a bit surprised by some of those numbers, but there we go. Tell us a bit about how it looked from your side there. And it was I caught a reasonable bit of it on Friday night, and it felt like about as one-sided an affair as you could ever wish to see. And Racing, it all kind of unfortunately for them felt like it fell apart. But Toulouse were, for the first time in a fair while, I think it's fair to say, that kind of irresistible Toulouse-ness that makes it look impossible to live with. But how was it in the flesh?
Comfortable, really. Like it, the Entrées and Dupont looked like they were like cruising it, like jogging around, walking, and they looked like they were like could have been even more relaxed. It was just it genuinely looked like a training run that they were kind of, or like they were not forced into any sort of stress. I know that like Entrées and Dupont generally have an air of looking fairly chilled out, both of them, but just the way they moved looked in backfield looked so relaxed. Kinghorn as well, like I know he can also look like a fairly laid back bloke, but yeah, it was just so relaxed, and just Racing 92 were so passive, so unbelievably passive. Now, we said a couple of weeks ago when I was looking at it, particularly through a Poe lens, that the 6-day turnaround is tough. When you give a team a week off to then make one team do a 6-day turnaround is tough. But I wouldn't say that Racing necessarily looked tired. They might have been mentally, and that's why perhaps they were so passive. But it wasn't like this is a team that is really fresh, and not like the Perpignan-Provence game, where like you had a team that looked like they'd taken a battering over the last few weeks physically, and a team that had been prepped for it.
Yeah,
it was just a pace thing and a front foot and intent, and like as soon like some of the early phases where Chocobarras runs direct and Barassi is just head down going for it, and like he looks like he's going to break through, and Racing's defense is just letting him run at them, stuff like that. It was genuinely so it was so one-sided to be 38-3 up at half time. Yeah, we were kind of like, when does this finish? Like, is it 70 something? And it was. It's like, it should be. They're on 38. They're over halfway to 70 already. Like the Miafu try off the tap move with the wall. Is just
the wall that did nothing.
The
wall that they just give it to the biggest bloke anyway.
No, but there's two guys next to Malvaca, isn't there? And he gives it. One he gives there's a little bit of a fake one way and goes to Netty, and then Netty gives it to me.
The 1970s barbarians would have been appalled by the subtlety in that wall. Unfortunately for them, well, they needed the subtlety because they didn't have Mane Miafu coming off the back the size of a house.
It was like the inevitability of that was. I mean, we were quite high up, and we had great seats. It has to be said, despite our partially restricted view through some glass shields. But I love being that high and that is a particularly high stadium, but you see the whole field, so you can kind of I think that's the best way to see a game. But it was just like they're setting up this wall. It's like, well, this is going to go to Miarfu and he's going to run over someone and he's going to score. You probably didn't have to have a great like high vantage point to
see the play.
That.
Yeah,
it was really fun. Like, it was just silly. It was just the early crossfield from Dupont for Teddy Thomas. At that point, you're like, they are taking the piss already.
Yeah,
and there was one bit. I think it's second half, but it's like they kick off and it goes to Dupont and he's inside his own 22. And it's like, oh, he should clear this, but he's not. He's Antoine Dupont, so he's going to try and skin half the team. And it genuinely looks like he's about to run the length because he does skin half the team. It was getting to that point where it's like, well, they might as well try it because it will probably come off. And yeah, what complete one-sided. Great fun to watch. Great fun with the Toulouse fans there. I would like to have seen more tries. They could have. They took their foot off the gas in the second half because why bother?
Because they
but
could.
Well, actually, no. I say they took their foot off the gas. I got the sense that they were just going to keep going because they were they were being able to do whatever they wanted, and they were scoring such good tries, and everyone was they were clearly all enjoying it and expressing themselves. I kind of thought, Jesus, this really could be 100 because they're just going to keep trying and it's going to keep coming off because Racing were just so passive.
Yeah, it looked very similar from afar through a TV screen. It feels like I feel like Toulouse, there's not too much more to say. They looked absolutely phenomenal. They look like some of those guys are hitting the heights that we know they can. Like their best in show players were absolutely outstanding. All the the big names.
We barely had to see. I think on that, like, Willis won man of the match, but it wasn't. He barely had to do any of his Jack Willis US or what was the USP. He's now got an all-court game, but he barely had to do any defending and any jackal stuff because I think at one point, quite a long way into the first half, it was 75% possession stats. 75% possession for Toulouse, and Willis was just he was just on the front foot. And I know that some of his breaks led to some of the tries, and just the way he like gets round Nathan Hughes. And Nathan Hughes did not have a good game. I will say that he looked particularly leggy. They were just the forwards were so dominant. And Malvaca was great. Played like 20 minutes, half an hour at number 8 because he can. I thought it was surprising that Flamont was on the bench but Brennan was brilliant. Yeah.
Superb stuff.
They were all great.
Yeah, ends a bit of what probably should still be remembered as a pretty impressive season from Racing, given where they were last year, and to make the semi-final the way they did, I think is quite impressive. But the golf is still fairly significant, I think, isn't it?
It's a shame, right? Like when you've got, because we've said all season, like the Toulouse, I'm no nearer to knowing whether Barassi is a bit of a defensive liability or not, because Racing like barely tried anything. Like, you didn't see, they could have got at that centre pairing. We know that there is a little bit of frailty at times in that centre pairing, or whichever pairing they go for. Tuisova and Fiku, you'd think, would be the two guys you'd want to have a go at that. And the kind of Tuisova's runs were kind of restricted to just running it down the channel of Chocobares. And it's like, right, well, we've got this one unit. They've got one bloke who can tackle a bus. So why don't we run at him? Like, where was the point in that? Actually, Entomac defended really well as well. And he's not quite the defensive machine that Chocobares is. But yeah, there was very little invention from Racing.
Yeah, never mind for Racing.
I did think Poe would have put up a better fight. But also part of me was like, thank God we aren't here. Yeah. I think because there were more loads of Poe fans there and we were sat near some. So I would have loved it anyway. But it would have been, it might have been quite soul destroying had I been there as a Poe fan and Poe been on the receiving end of something like that.
Yeah.
But I do think we would have put on a bit more. I think we would have put on more of a fight.
Maybe. We won't know.
Never know.
To a bit more of a fight, let's talk about Saturday, because having been a bit of a blowout, Saturday was far more tense, far more in the end, it was a pretty impressive performance, it must be said. But there were huge patches of this game which were very tense, and it could have been kind of properly down to the wire had one or two things not conspired against Stade Francais. But again, your immediate thoughts from your partially sighted, partially restricted view through the perspex panes.
Yeah, I would say slight confession. We missed the start of this, so we missed the first Montpellier penalty, which I know was like within like the first minute, so not that bad. But yeah, at the craft brewery we're at, it took them 45 minutes to deliver our mixed platter, which they said was going to be 15 minutes. So that was a bit of a kill. We had this perfectly mapped out to get it all on time and get to our seats with some beers and stuff like that. But yeah, both days we walked, and I think in that heat, I don't know why anyone would want to get on a metro. But also, like, you can walk it's kind of like there's just so many bars lining the street on the way to the ground that as you're walking down, and we kind of ran out of time to get a drink on the way there. But you can kind of be like, oh well, we'll just pick up a cup from here and we'll have a beer and we'll just take this one on the move. So yeah, like, it's really cool the way that street is lined with all those outdoor bars and stuff like that. Like, yeah. You'll remember it was exactly the same as it was during the World Cup.
Good fun setup.
And like right on the corner on like a big roundabout, that's where the kind of main party was, and there was so many people there just partying away pre-game. Like a couple of bakeries and like pizza places doing absolutely roaring trade out there, and like all these pop-up bars also have like their kind of merguez and frite on the go and stuff like that. So yeah, I think for the World Cup, we found that the games weren't quite the French rugby experience, whereas I found the Marseille this time round was the French, because everyone there was French.
A bit more authentic.
Yeah, everyone there is doing their version of it, but it's all French, whereas like before it was just Brits abroad, wasn't it? Or Saffords.
We did also take ourselves to the Scottish bar, which probably...
I don't think it is Scottish. It's just called Le Kill. I don't know how Scottish it is. I don't think they were playing the Morocco game. Let's put it that way. Morocco, Scotland. Yeah, I think, but it's just, it fit. Yeah, it felt much more authentic. It felt much more like a Six Nations game.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense.
Or like a Autumn Internationals game. So yeah, we did miss the start, but we didn't miss much. We did see the tries, which, yeah, I mean, the Stade Francais were up. I think high level overall views, I would have found it incredibly frustrating if I was a Stade Francais fan. Not necessarily because of like they were rubbish or decisions or whatever, just the inability to escape. Like it was a constriction. That's like Montpellier's ability to constrict was phenomenal. It's like Saracens in those when they kind of first had the Brendan Fenter years. Like, no one really likes it. No one likes to watch it, but God, it is seriously impressive and seriously effective if you get it right. It is a very constrictive game plan, but Stade Francais just couldn't get out. They just couldn't get the opportunities. They couldn't create the opportunities. They couldn't keep the ball. They couldn't get a foothold in the game, and Montpellier just kept pinning them back. It's not pretty what Montpellier do on the field. We know loads about off the field stuff, but it's damn effective, and it's really hard to see teams getting the better of it, to be honest.
I thought it was impressive, particularly because they did actually concede 2 tries pretty quickly, didn't they?
Yeah.
So to kind of right the ship after that. And they were lovely tries as well. I mean, like, fantastic bit of skill from Dakawanga, and sporting one of the most outrageous haircuts I think I've ever seen, even in the top 14. And also it was Kerbalo?
Kerbalo, yeah.
Tanga break.
Inside ball of Tanga,
which was lovely. But to be able to kind of go back to their game plan. I mean, the scrum was obviously Stade Francais missed what's his name, Melekidze to come in. He's been absolutely incredible, but the scrum just continued to. Well, I think
they destroyed them. They completely did. They completely did them, and they completely did them at line out. So like, Stade Francais should have been the one team that could match up to Montpellier. Like, it felt like they were. I was kind of saying the night before, there's no way that we will see it as something as one-sided because of the teams are so well matched. And actually, to see Montpellier destroy the Stade Francais scrum and line out is just speaks to how impressive they were. I don't think Nicotera, people are like, Nicotera's having a shocker. I actually think a lot of his throws were perfect. Like, they were hitting the target at or near the top of the jump. It was just that Montpellier was so damn good at reading them. Maybe there's some criticism there that Stade Francais line out needs to have more deception. I don't know enough about line outs, but like whoever it was, whether it was Verhaag or Nucci, they were getting up and stealing it at the very top of like where Stade Francais were. It was just the reading and timing from Montpellier at line out was exceptional. I don't think Stade Francais could have done much more. It's really hard to explain and put into words like how they like Montpellier did it, but it was just really, really good. Played the territory really well. They kicked the leather off it. Well, no, they didn't quite. There wasn't quite full George Ford away at Bordeaux with Tigers back in the day, but there were a lot of box kicks. There wasn't a lot of like running moves from Montpellier. Like the players that did well were the forwards around the fringes and people defending well. They went to the air quite a lot with the boot, but
it worked
bloody
well.
They worked bloody well. Yeah,
they've been phenomenal, haven't they? And I still think as well there are
how was it in the game?
It just felt like the second half the scrum was so dominant that it was going to take something a little bit kind of out of the ordinary to arrest the momentum that much from Stade Francais. And there were a couple of moments. Obviously, the big contentious point is the Joe Marchant non-try, which
I've not watched this back yet, so I want to know what you think.
Try and I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong. Certainly, the commentators and Premier Sports were saying I think it was awarded on field.
James Harrington. I asked James Harrington because he was talking about it, and he said there was no decision on field.
I think it's just one of those things. Like, maybe you can't see it just is a try. Like I think everyone, I think in that vicinity, it just looks like a try. I can see if that's the case why they didn't give it. But to me, it felt pretty harsh.
My biggest bugbear with it is that there was like 5 minutes of TV replays. There were so many TMOs in this game, and it was big pauses. It was like, this is the time to go out and get your drinks because they're just going to go to the TMO and they'll be there for 5 minutes. And the amount of times they looked at that and kind of I thought it live that they had awarded it initially on field, and so it's kind of like, why on earth are they looking at? There's no way they are going to find anything conclusive, anything clear or not. There's no clear and obvious error if they've awarded the try. There's nothing clear and obvious, and it felt like in this game there was an element of, we're trying to penalise. We're not trying to go with the flow. We're not trying to, we're not going clear and obvious. We're trying to find stuff that is less obvious just to be annoying. I really like Ludovic Kerr as a ref, but I thought he was maybe it was TMO coming in too much, but there was just so much TMO involvement. I thought the fact they even looked at the Tanga one that was nearly a yellow so much, I was going to blow my lid there. I was like, he is perpendicular. He is at a 90-degree angle. There is absolutely no way that he's done anything reckless or whatever. I think the Aloe Emile yellow is harsh. It's only because Billy Vanapola is getting some medical treatment. So I assume that's been called in from the TMO. There is absolutely nothing he could have done differently. If you watch it at full speed, it's definitely, if you watch it at full speed, there is no croc roll element about it. It's just, he's just trying to clear a ruck. Billy Vanapola, partly because he's made of like titanium, just gets up and he's running around like he doesn't even go off the field. So they've kind of done this. Maybe he's milked it, mate. He's milked it.
Yeah, it was one of those. I was kind of watching that part of the game like a little bit secondarily, I guess. And as they were showing the replay, I was genuinely like, I can't, like, what have I missed here? Is it something sort of beyond the frame that's front and center? Is that someone, like taking someone out off the ball? And it was only when, I can't remember, Mertz or someone on commentary was like, I don't think that's a croc roll, that the eyes kind of went to it. It was that, it felt that, that non-eventful to me. Really, but there we go. But regardless, I mean, Montpellier thoroughly deserved and hugely efficient and effective, and pretty impressive as well. And I think I saw one of your
wanted the march and tried to be scored, partly because English, partly because I didn't want Montpellier to win, partly because it would have made a hell of a finish.
Yeah, it would have been unbelievable.
It would have felt a little bit cruel or a little bit unjust for Stade Francais to be level at that point with a shot of winning it. it didn't feel like their second half performance had merited being level, even though that try would have taken them level with a conversion. It just, Montpellier were 10 points better. I know they kind of finished that way, and I think that was probably fair.
Yeah, I think that is fair. Yeah, it was impressive stuff. Rob, any kind of closing thoughts from Marseille before we look ahead to Paris?
There were a lot of Montpellier fans there, I have to say. Yeah, in the same way that, not to the extent of like how it felt like a Toulouse home game, but the points going over, you kind of really there was a real roar around the stadium and at the full time. And again, I think it's partly because they have like their stadium announcer and their like music or whatever when they score. So it did feel like a proper atmosphere. And then afterwards, just the streets are absolutely, it's not a long walk, but it takes you forever. There's people like walking on the streets, there's cars going everywhere. It was carnage afterwards. There's like people on tables. You're just like, there is so much scope for injury to happen across this between me and getting back to central Marseille. There is just so much scope for disaster. Not necessarily from us, but yeah, we did after the second game have some pastis. And you'll see
I did notice your t-shirt.
Purchased t-shirt, that I actually bought in Nice, which I actually bought in Nice on Sunday. It was if you're into aniseed, I can imagine you love it. If you're not, it's tough. There was so across all of the first day, the whole place just stank of pastis. All the way to the stadium, everywhere we stopped, you could just smell it. It's like a real. Yeah, I don't. It lingers, and it gets so sticky. So as soon as you like touch a cup with that, was the thing. Like having the pastis is like, I've held this in my hand, and I now feel like my entire hand is pastis. Yeah, I don't absolutely despise it. The occasions I've had it, but it's not one of those things I think, ooh, do you know what I fancy now is a nice little pastis in 29-degree roasting sun coming off. Well, clearly that's what Marseille. People love. Yeah, but made of sterner stuff. Some of these folks, particularly these folks from the southwest and Toulouse and so on. Yeah, I can see the appeal of it in stuff. You know, like we've had that Zulu, which is basically like a rum punch, isn't it? With some sort of pastis in it. I can get on board with it just about with that, and obviously in like a bouilla base. But yeah, not neat, or with not the you don't have it neat. They give it like a little water that makes it kind of go a bit cloudy, cloudy, milky. Yeah. I saw it described as earlier. Okay, fair enough. Texture. Fair. Yeah. We had to have a Jet Van set just to wash it down. Yeah, just to cleanse the palate, get rid of the taste of pastis. The thinking man's pastis. Yeah. Nice. Okay, looking ahead to the Stade de France, Toulouse v Montpellier, first v second in the regular season for a bit of American parlance. How do you see it going? I genuinely don't know. How do you see it going? I don't know, because Toulouse won't be able to be as rampant as they were against Racing 92. No. And the ability of Montpellier to constrict is a really, really fascinating proposition coming up against a team that is going to attack. I saw James Harrington again. He kind of said that it was a quote from Colazzo after they won in the final round. It's like you have to attack Toulouse's attack, basically. You kind of got to not let them run over you. And it's like, wow, that is quite a remarkable quote given what I saw on Friday night, given how passive they were. Yeah, but and you know, that's not to say that what he said as the way to beat Toulouse is wrong, because that is still the right way. And I think Montpellier have the tools at their disposal to be able to cause Toulouse some real problems. How do you see it? I think I don't want it to end up this way. I think Toulouse, and in the end fairly comfortably, is my. And it's not because I don't think Montpellier, like what they can do up front is so impressive. They can be so aggressive defensively. How they've been with Dumaru as the defence coach has been phenomenal. I just think Toulouse are a cut above when they want to be anyone. Maybe with the exception of a full flying Bordeaux. And I think in a final with all the guys they've got fit, I think they've got that. They don't quite have maybe the scrum dominance, but they've like Merkle's come on so much this year. Like I don't think they'll.
I don't think we'll see them go backwards in the same way that almost turn the game in the second half. And I think also, I think whatever happens, I think in the hot weather, that Toulouse team, I think they're scoring at least 40 points. So and then can Montpellier match that? I don't think so. I think it'll be Toulouse by 15 plus.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see that. Now I can kind of try and picture a score line.
And I'd love it. I'd love that.
I can't quite see Montpellier. Yeah,
eventuates.
I can't quite see Montpellier scoring 30-ish points, which it feels like you need to. I don't know if Ramos is going to be fit, but Roman Ntamack was 100% off the tee. He was really good to watch on Friday night.
Yeah.
His goal kicking was exceptional. I've said this before. He just has some days where you're like, this man is like, the way he strikes a ball, I don't see how he's ever going to miss a kick. Yeah, but obviously they would love to have Ramos there generally. It's good to see Dupont back to some fitness and form. And again, like you kind of think the X Factor players are the Toulouse ones, aren't they? Like who could be the players stepping up in a final for a heroic performance? You think could be Dupont, could be Willis, could be Miafu, Nucci, Vulapola. So maybe Montpellier do, but I think it probably will be Toulouse.
Yeah, I would love to see, and I think if Montpellier were to, because they finished second and they've been so good, I think if they were to do it, and we'll reflect on this next week and we'll see how it pans out, but I think it would be a bigger achievement than maybe it's being kind of looked at the moment, because Montpellier's form has been so good. I still think if you do the classic combined 15-23, I think for the most part you end up with a very heavy Toulouse side. But the way that Montpellier have operated as a unit this year, they squeeze so much out of, there isn't that the back line, there isn't really a superstar, right? The way they defend and the way they kind of squeeze the most out of one another is really impressive. I just think that Stardust Toulouse, it will go that way again.
It does feel like if there is a team that could beat Toulouse almost more than Bordeaux, this is the team that could do it, because how many times down the years, over the last 2 years, have we said, well, if they've got a weakness, it's at the scrum, and if you can match them up front and you can get on top of them at line out, and Montpellier probably will. And I'd be fascinated to see whether, if it's Ramos or it's Kinghorn and it's Lebel and Thomas, if they are being turned and having space to run into the wall of defenders, you can see, like, we've seen Ramos and Kinghorn just do random shit that makes it completely brainless and plays into the opposition's hands. Like, I can definitely see Montpellier doing it. I think Joe Worsley's been saying for a while that Montpellier were going to win the top 14. So it's not as outlandish now as it would have seemed 6 months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it should be good fun. I'm looking forward to it. When is it? Saturday late.
8 o'clock UK time, 9 o'clock, 9 and 15, might have been 9:15.
9:15. Yeah, I like the way I feel like in the last 12 months they've just nudged some of them back even further. Some of the kickoffs just to a little bit more leeway. But yeah, should be unbelievable. Live on both Premier Sports and our friends at FI UK.
Yeah, just mentioned Joe Worsley there. He'll be commentating, I'd imagine.
Little plug for the boys.
Free, which is good news for everyone.
Gratuit. Shall we come back and talk a little bit about some of the kind of weird international stuff going on, and then wrap up with a couple of Petit-Fours. All right, back in a sec. Okay, there was Marseille, what on paper I thought was quite an exciting looking Francais versus England A game at Van Stade de la Rabine, one of, if not my favourite grounds in France. And I think you caught a little bit, you said before on your way to the game, but it was a strange old affair.
I have since watched most of it back as well.
Strange old affair, not least if you were watching it on Rugby Pass in the UK, which basically didn't work. So that was pretty frustrating, to put it mildly. Yeah, I found the whole thing a little bit, I mean, very comfortable win for France in the end. I found the whole thing a little bit underwhelming while I was watching it, I must say, as an
Yeah.
occasion. And it felt like there were a lot of blokes who understandably maybe would rather have not rather have not been there. But yeah, anything more constructive than that to take from it.
I don't know about constructive, but different at least. It felt like exactly what it was. It felt like two teams of very talented players that have never played together before playing together for the first time. And because they've, certainly on France's side, because they've got talent, they pulled off some brilliant stuff, and England scored some decent tries as well.
I
Yeah,
don't think I've
it just
ever seen the ball hit the deck as much. And it
it
must
was
have been
that
sweaty, but there
the second
was
half was
handling
tough, wasn't it? It was just like, oh my god, and it was like missed line out, like failed backs move, ball hits the deck, scrum, England scrum loses, they go to a line out, someone cocks up a line out, like it was just yeah. I thought that said, I mean the try that I think is finished off by Hastoy kind of going over from short range that involves a load of offloading from a load of different players, most of them forwards, was just like the England don't score those tries. A lot of teams like France just score those tries, and a lot of other teams in international rugby don't have that mindset. I know that's the horribly cliche thing to say, but there is an element of innate, like the willingness and expectation that an offload is going to come is something magical, and seems to be in. And I think the fact that it's inherent in French rugby players, because, like I said, a lot of these guys haven't played together before, and yet they're still kind of somehow on the wavelength that they are going to get an offload, or going to get an offload come their way. Anyone impress you for France?
I thought he got man of the match, didn't he? Because Marco Gazzotti was very good.
Yeah.
I thought the whole back row. I actually thought Esteban Kabir looked really good in the first half, in particular. The front row in the second half had an absolute field day. Albeit, I mean, Regis Montagne is arguably their first choice prop now, right? Tight head prop. So that perhaps wasn't entirely surprising, but very impressive nonetheless. Yeah, those were probably, I mean, it was nice to see. It didn't kind of like light it all up, but nice to see like Nicolas Deporter back playing. Yeah, it'd be cool to see how he gets on over these summer tour games. Yeah, fabulous player. Anyone else top of my head? Enjoyed watching Tom Staniforth in French
Thought
colours.
he was really good.
Yeah, just just the pure abrasion. He's fantastic, and actually has maybe not quite hit some of the heights at Cast in the last season and a half since he came back from that horrendous injury. But he kind of looked in that sort of form, just so aggressive, and that ability to like actually carry quite hard for a second row at pace. Also, just love seeing, and my Cast bias coming through, but wicked to see Christian Mbadiang get called up, and I think he's in the full squad, isn't he now for the tour, which is great to see. Yeah, would like to see him on the ball a little bit more, but yeah,
what he
maybe
did do,
against the All Blacks.
didn't get involved that much, but what he did do, he did really nicely,
Yeah.
like nice touches, really cool. I thought Arfoy was great for the 11 minutes he was on, and quite a nasty looking injury that.
Yeah, there are a couple of bad ones. So Alex Dombrance did an ACL in this game as
Did
well.
he?
Yeah.
I didn't see
He's won't play till 2027 at the earliest, which is not great in a game like
That's
that.
not fun. Yeah.
Um,
I was thinking watching this that like Dombrant feels like there are some French clubs that he is just like the perfect player. He's the one number 8
mate.
that's been cast off from England that hasn't been picked up by
Mate,
a French club.
At that extra Bath game, I was like, Alfie Barbary would become an absolute legend somewhere, and I don't know who it would be, but he'd be like the king of Claremont, somewhere like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The the English 8 is very much in vogue. How about you? Anyone else stand out?
Gazzotti was good, wasn't he? I thought Kylian Tisserand, that was the best I've seen him play.
Yes,
probably since he was last in a France jersey.
Yeah, amazing.
And who else did I like? Yeah, I thought Deporter was pretty good. I think the scrum obviously went really, really well, and I think that's partly because they just had this unreal 8 behind them. Like, imagine having Staniforth and Giard. I know Giard went off fairly quickly, but probably Giard as a loose head lock and Parleau as a loose head lock, probably quite helpful when it comes to scrum. I thought Massa was good. Like, I wonder if he's like a good scrummager. I feel like every team he's played in, the scrum is really, really. And I don't know how you tell a hooker is a good scrummager, despite having played hooker myself. I think that probably tells you about my own scrummaging abilities as a hooker. I think Massa's kind of given himself a shot at kind of challenging for that third choice hooker role. I'm just trying to find the squad, but I actually can't see it. But there have been some, you mentioned it, there's been some exciting changes to the squad for the, for the Nations Championship. Notably, Mathieu Jalibert, I think, is the big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Jalibert,
Maxime Lucu are both in there.
Damien Penaud returns.
Yeah. I've also seen rumours that, after all, Antoine Dupont may play in this.
Yeah.
And Entamac might play. So
yeah, I think they're potentially lining up I think the New Zealand game might be a week too soon, but Australia and Japan, they reckon they might be there.
You'd have to think the New Zealand game's a week too soon.
Yeah, I think
it's less than 7 days. When you think of like the time zones, it's less than 7 days between the top 14 final.
That's not going to happen.
Aaron Grandidier comes in for Arfoy. Yeah, so Arfoy's out injured. Desprez also picked up an injury, but he kicked the conversion near the end, so I don't know when that was. So notionally, I guess Jalibert comes in for him. The sort of guys we'd expect to be there on this sort of tour was guys like Gaetan, Ordu, they're in there, Jegu. Yeah, I think... Sorry, we didn't really talk about that. I thought Giard is just amazing, isn't he? Just what a player. Moses Alou-Emile, that is an interesting one.
Yes.
The younger brother who qualifies on... He's been in France I think he's like 25. He's been in France since he was 18. Has had a very good season, despite the kind of the Stade Francais pack faltering on Saturday night. He's been one of the foremost scrummagers in top 14 for a while. What I find interesting about Moses Alou-Emile is he can play on both sides. So, yeah, is he now the answer? Is he now the potential answer at tight head? Tatafu's in there. He's not going to play, is he? He's going to get injured before he gets a chance to play. But
and Falatea as well, right?
Yeah.
Kind of lesser spotted tight heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. So that's, I guess we've got a bit of time next week to talk about that, but I think it's New Zealand followed by Australia and then Japan, right?
Correct.
Very nice. Okay.
On 4th, 11th and 18th of July.
Excellent. Okie doke. There is also, sorry, just to note, I was just looking earlier, the under-20 squad has also been announced. There's a few fun names in there. Captained by Lucas Andijasmachi,
yeah.
Who's very, very exciting young La Rochelle player. So that should be good fun. No doubt there'll be some absolute worldies playing in there when that kicks off too. Should we pass straight into the...
Senga, sorry. Go on.
Senga, who's going to Po, right? From Van.
I'm trying to find the squad. I assumed it'd be here. Carry on. Sorry.
Anyway, I was going to say, shall we dip quickly into the Petit-Fours? I haven't got masses. A couple of sort of interesting-ish ones. One was just something I saw on Rugby Mavericks Instagram the other day, which was a clip, I believe.
Rugby Mavericks.
Yeah, I mean, I think we appear to be. Are we following them? I don't know, but there's a decent. Oh no, we don't. But it's actually 2007 World Cup, a clip of Remy Martin, whose son Romeo Martin Bonnard is part of that under-20 squad.
Yeah, he is.
Getting spear tackled by a Georgian. I think the Stade Velodrome, possibly. Yeah, and he gets a yellow card for what would be kind of today red plus probably 25-week ban. But the bit that cracked me up is not the bloke nearly breaking his neck, but one of the Georgian players in the background then starts sarcastically clapping the ref for giving him a yellow. It's such an incredible clip. Go on Rugby Mavericks and scroll back a little bit. Yeah, for what is quite a serious rugby incident, it is well worth a watch. The other thing, two things. Gabriel Vernier, massive name in the French team, centre, is leaving Blognac to sign for Gloucester Hartpury, which, as far as I'm aware, you don't see too many of the French team coming from Elite 1 over to the women's Prem. So
That's
bit
quite
of a shift from Blognac to Gloucester. And then the other thing is non-rugby related and is actually quite dark, but you are wearing a shirt that says Pétanque. There was news in the week of, well, a guy, two Pétanque players getting into a fight in Mimizan, which is pretty much equidistant between Bordeaux and Bayonne down on the coast there, which resulted in one of them quite literally killing the other one with a pétanque ball. And getting banged up. This 81-year-old bloke's been banged up in Mont-de-Marsan jailhouse, or whatever you call it. It was in the Times. It is an absolutely outrageous story. And apparently, the reason I
feel like I should take this T-shirt off. I don't like pastis, and this is a reason not to like pétanque.
Well, apparently, there have been various issues with pétanque over the last few years. They had to ban. Apparently, there's a lot of, well, perhaps understandably, a lot of drinking involved, but maybe a lot of pastis and pétanque. And a couple of years ago, there were guys had to be banned, sort of turf wars over little pétanque courts. There is a dark side to pétanque that I personally had not realised or thought would ever be the case. But apparently, I mean, this is obviously an incredibly tragic incident. But apparently, pétanque is quite well known for getting really aggro. So there you go.
Big in Marseille. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, absolutely wild story.
I would like to correct myself. Joachim Tenga isn't even in the squad. So before anyone calls me out on that. Talking of fights, I don't know why this has anything to do with fights. It's not. But somewhere that back in the day they were notorious for fighting. Béziers have a couple of pre-season games. Have you seen these? One is against Narbonne on the 11th of August, which is pretty tasty. And then on the 21st of August, Leicester,
yeah. There's a connection, right?
We're on a stag do that weekend, Richard, so we can't go.
Never mind. There is a connection. I can't remember the guy's name. There's somebody, because his son, who's been part of Leicester Academy, has just signed for Béziers as well.
Oh, really?
I can't remember the bloke's name. Béziers have made some, yeah.
Is it Harry Glynn?
No, it's not. We'll report back next week because it's quite an interesting tale. But yeah, there's definitely a bit of a link. I think two guys from the academy, Leicester Academy, have gone across, but I cannot remember for the life of me what their names are.
Oh, nice. There was a thing on the top 14 official socials of the various celebs at the game in Marseille. I'm not going to lie, I don't know who most of them are, apart from Monsieur Prof, because he's English. Bastereau, obviously. But yes, most importantly, sat next to each other, two legends of 90s French rugby, French sport. 90s, 80s. Serge Blanco sat next to Michel Platini.
Oh wow!
In the stands in Marseille. The final thing, I feel like we should finish on this. Have you got anything?
I was just gonna. So the two youngsters who are joining from Leicester, Tabuna Maka and Monty Logenberg from Tigers Academy, have signed as espoirs. I'm pretty sure it's Logenberg. There is some sort of board connection there.
I did see that Maka had moved to Béziers. So last Sunday, I think it was the Fédéral 1 final. So for the champion of France. So teams have all got promoted and all that. It was the team I was supporting on that day, Peyre Herard, because that is the OG club of Théâtre Sogbé. They were up against Saint-Sulpice-sur-Lez. So Peyre Herard is kind of Landes, Bayonne region border between Mont-de-Marsan and Pau, basically. Saint-Sulpice-sur-Lez, I think, is near Toulouse, which really narrows it down for a rugby team and at that level. Now, you've heard of open top bus rides, Richard, when a team wins. Saint-Sulpice-sur-Lez, how did they celebrate their 24-18 victory over Peyre Herard?
Oh, open top, like tractors or something like that.
Open top tractor ride.
Was it? Oh, yes.
It actually was, yeah. So Melee A5 or Melee A5 or MA5 Rugby put this up. I think that's Tom, isn't it? there was a tractor, and then they've got in like various tractors. One is like kind of one of those ones that you normally have like pigs in, and they've just opened it up. So you can see there that the guys are just in the like basically being treated like cattle, but on
Incredible.
like a celebratory decorated
float.
But there's absolutely all sorts going on. But that looks like a lot of fun. So they will be going into National 2 next season. Saint-Sulpice-sur-Lez.
Congratulations.
Look forward to. I want to see more of them. Maybe they should be my team in National 2. I think Peyre Harad do go up though. I think yesterday was also the Fédéral 2 final. I don't know the result, but I know that it got played at 10 a.m. because of the heat wave. Half of France was under red warning yesterday, so it was blooming boiling where we were. And I looked at the weather, and genuinely half of France was covered in red. And Montpellier was green, Marseille was like yellow, Nice was yellow. So actually, we were kind of at the cooler end in the southeast, but. Yeah, they've had some but to move the game to 10 a.m. on a Sunday just because of the heat, I don't know who won that though. Hopefully they drove the trophy through on a tractor today.
Superb. Very, very nice way to finish. Rob, the French, certainly Pro Les Deux, I'm going to use Pro Les Deux as the yardstick, domestically started on the 29th of August last year. I make it 27th of June on the horizon is the top 14 final. It's been a ride. It's been a journey to get there. Thoroughly looking forward to Saturday night. Any closing thoughts for our loyal listeners?
Yeah, just to reiterate that we all want Toulouse to win because Montpellier are full of criminals. So some guys I met at lunch on Friday, they found it quite funny when I said that they had a load of criminals, and I said I was Scottish, and they're like, "What do you think of Stuart Hogg?" It's like, this is a complicated question.
There we go. Anyway, looking forward to what should be an amazing occasion. And Montpellier, is that correct? No, last team to have won the top 14.
Yeah. This is the last 4 years of winners taking on each other.
There you go. Well, exciting nonetheless. Keep up with all of it. Follow us, Rosbiff Rugby, Twitter, Blue Sky, X, Instagram. Drop us a note, rosbiffrugby@gmail.com. Get in touch. Tell us what you're up to. I imagine there's probably not too many trips on the horizon, although 1st of July, I believe, is the Champions and Challenge Cup draws. So you can start looking ahead to next year, including a round this year in October, I believe, just to stretch things out a little bit and throw things into even more chaos for not too much of a reason. But yes, enjoy the top 14 final, and we will be back next week to work out quite what went on. I've been Richard, that's been Rob. We've been the Rosbiff Rugby Podcast. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Sports Social Podcast Network, the biggest voices in sport. Let's take a look at some of the lineup. What's occurring?
If you're good enough, you're old enough. There's no doubt he's good enough. Like, it's obvious to me.
Paula's Run Club.
When we've talked about your favourite place to be on Marathon Day, mine is absolutely that finish.
A Celtic state of mind.
Under Mark O'Neill this season, when Arnie Engels starts, our win ratio is 92%.
All on Europe's biggest sport podcast network. Find your next favourite sport podcast. Search Sports Social Podcast Network and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Verified comparison at content.sport-social.co.uk/comparison.